Okay, so one of the examples I gave to somebody earlier today, and it's a great example I love always using, but the hinges on that door right there, they swing a pretty big and heavy door. The same size hinges also open up your tiny little linen closet, door. So what happens is a lot of people try and change every single hinge in their fitness life when most of them don't do shit for you, when really you have like this one of, say, drinking a bottle of wine at night or going to McDonald's every day or any of these other ones.
Maybe.
That's the same size hinge that opens up a monster door. All right. Guys, get up there, big smiles. Cheese. Out of these Mission 100 consultations, everybody except for one person so far has said that meal prep and planning food and packing food has been their biggest holding. The whole thing is like, where do we make the smallest change to make the biggest impact? And that's normally what you're saying. I hope he doesn't say that. I hope he doesn't say that. I hope. So the thing that you're fearing that I'm saying is going to be your biggest holdup is your biggest holdup. So if meal planning and meal prep is it, chances are you are probably overthinking it. And that's what we found more than anything is people are overthinking it. There's so many different things that you can do to take one protein source and turn it into a million others. We always joke about the fact, and not joke, but it's very cool that we were both brought up in a time where our grandmothers were a big influence in our lives, and also helped my mom a lot with her growing up as well. But my grandmother could turn like the dust on the ground into a meal for 3 weeks, 25 different flavors, package it, then somehow open up her freezer and like a whole like combat survival unit comes out and she can feed somebody for another like 300 days. And they're all like packaged meals. They were a meal that they finished and it was a little bit left over. They were packaged and it was put away.
She had a list of everything that was in her freezer.
Yeah, and she had a list of everything that was in her freezer.
Wow.
Like, guys, we're not at that spot this day and age, okay? Like, we have more technology to keep us organized. We have more systems. We have more apps to remind us of stuff. But we are not that old growing up in the 20s, 30s, and 40s where, I mean, you were like that housemaker that just rocked that life and didn't break sweat, didn't waste food. Yeah, I mean, so, like, we are working real jobs. Like, everybody here either has kids, they have stress, they have struggles. So if meal prep becomes one of those struggles, you are going to give it up quickly. You can't give up your kids, so you're going to make a concession.
Darn it!
Kim, what did you do today? Kim got rid of her daughter.
Yay, my daughter's moving out!
Yes. So we can get rid of our kids a little bit, but the whole thing is your stresses, you are going to take the path of least resistance just like water. And if sacrificing meals and sacrificing your own healthiness is an option, you are always going to do it. And that's because you are caretakers. And that's because, I mean, look, we have Michael, Chris, who had to be here, the other Mike, and Rolo, who works here. That's it. The rest of you are ladies, okay? Ladies, all within that 35 to 55 range. You guys are all having either kids at that early age or towards the teenage years where they're breaking through in independence and stuff like that. But you're also having to deal with, if you have young kids, you're buying the snacks that shouldn't be in the house for you. If you have older kids and you're cooking healthier things, they're eating your food. Okay? So what I want to start with first is the easiest 3 things that you can do. So again, we talked about hinges that can open up the biggest doors or swing the biggest doors. For me, everybody eats dinner, right? Yes. For the most part, yeah. I mean, anybody who doesn't eat dinner? Okay. So no matter if you are eating someplace at a restaurant, if you are cooking food at home, even if it's not the healthiest thing and it's fried chicken and mashed potatoes, make a bigger dinner and pack half for tomorrow. Okay. Somebody said they don't like leftovers.
Yeah.
Time out. Who said they don't like leftovers?
I love leftovers.
Okay, here's a perfect example, all right? Guys, we don't like going to work.
Oh, we do it anyways.
I like my job.
Food is not necessarily fun. We can enjoy ourselves with food, and we're going to try to help you as much as possible, but sometimes we have to do things, and unfortunately, even if it's heating maybe a different way or showing some different ways to do it, but like unfortunately, like you're going to have to eat food that's a day old sometimes or 2 days old. It's unfortunate, unless you have the time. If you can cook every day, the same recipes we're showing, you can keep your meat raw and heat it up, like, you know, cook it that day. But it's a whole lot easier if you cook it in advance. We just talked. She has her food prep. She has everything ready. And driving home, you talk yourself out of it, right?
Yeah.
How many people do that?
I do it every day. I'd much rather stop and go to bed.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. So you all have your routines and like your vices of where you go and where you stop to get food. But if you just planned a little bit better, if you prepped a little bit better, and maybe for you it's cooking all your carbs and you do different. You cook your protein fresh each night. You know, that might be a better way to go. But for everybody else, at least for the most part, cook a bigger dinner. Have half of it for tomorrow. Okay, if you are not sure about portion sizes, because that's the next thing I get. Well, I don't know how much to pack. If you pack anything, it's better than nothing. Okay? Here's how your body's going to tell you. If you pack something the next day and you eat it and you're still hungry afterwards,
You didn't pack enough.
you didn't pack enough. If you can't eat it all, you pack too much. You have to start and course correct along the way, but if you never start, it's not going to help. So, for portions, just start. And then secondly, we can start worrying about the macros and weighing your food. I don't, exactly, the blah. I don't want to weigh my food. To me, if I can be as consistent as possible and make a small change here or there, or like for me, it's late night eating. I think that's what most people's are. It's that sweet thing, that salty thing, that crunchy thing before bed, whatever it is. For me, like changing that, and she'll hate it, but that's normally the first start of 5 to 8 pounds. Like that's a good way for me to go. You see the death stares I'm getting right here? My wife is under the camera here.
It really is.
So, but it's making those small changes. And you know what's funny? When I take out like nighttime desserts and I do lose weight and she complains, I say, well, you should have eaten more desserts when we were eating them so it was a bigger change when we stopped. I enjoyed myself. I just ate all of December and it was awesome. So,
I know my truth.
yeah. We're going like the day before Thanksgiving all the way through riding it. I did great with Halloween. Candy, we didn't do any candy this year. Like it was really, it was the last month of the year. And we all do it. So what we got to look at here, and we talk about some of the different situations of being too busy, not being prepared, some of these other things, you really come down to it, and like we need to have something that's convenient here. So the third recommendation would be is if you know that Timmy's soccer practice is Thursday night, and you have some sort of work thing Friday morning, and there's all sorts of different things going on. Wednesday, you need to start the crock pot. So the day before your busiest day of the week, you should have a crock pot recipe, or like Chris is going to talk to us about later, a pressure cooker recipe ready for the day before you get busy. Now, the reason why I say the day before is a perfect scenario. It's a Tuesday last week or something like that. We were going to make that salsa fiesta chicken. It's an easy recipe. It's as simple as taking out chicken, putting it in a crock pot, dumping 2 jars of salsa, and putting a packet inside of seasoning. We didn't, and we didn't make it. And then there's been other times where it's been previous weeks where we made it, but we made it too late in the day and it wasn't ready, it was still raw at dinner time. And then, so like, even though it's easy to make, still don't try and put that on your busiest day. If you're busy, you are going to be busy. Don't think that just because it's a crock pot meal, it's going to be easier. Still plan it the day before, okay? Put it on that slow cook, or like Chris is going to tell you, cook it for an hour and you're done. But, you know, put your crock pot on for 4 hours, 8 hours, let it cook. Set it and forget it. If you are going to leave the house, you have a diffuser. You don't have to go to a Scentsy party or anything else. You have a great smelling house when you get home. So those are like the first 3 tips I would say is just make a bigger portion for dinner, pack half tomorrow. Don't worry about the portion sizes so much in the beginning. Just focus on consistency. When I'm talking to a lot of you, I'm like, well, what do you eat for lunch each day? Sometimes I eat lunch. What do you eat for breakfast each day? Well, some days I eat breakfast. What do you eat for dinner? Well, I try not to eat dinner because it's too late, so instead I do this and this, and it ends up being like a bag of popcorn and this. And it's things that they shouldn't have eaten, so if I try and eat healthier at night, they really ate worse. So the more consistent, if you tell me you have a breakfast every single day, a lunch every day, a dinner every day, you have a similar type snack every single afternoon, well then when you come to me and we sit down, we try and make a change, it's about changing 1 or 2 little things. But right now, if you come to me with that, then I say, well, you need to take a couple weeks to be consistent because we don't know what to change yet, or else we're just guessing, okay? So if you want a customized plan, and if you want to customize your plan, you just have to start a little bit consistent, see? Consistently bad is still better than not consistent at all. And that might sound counterproductive or whatever, but it's not. Being consistently bad, at least we know where we can change. But again, if you're eating breakfast some days, then your first meals other days aren't till 4 o'clock, and then some people don't eat all day and they just eat this crazy dinner that's not healthy, like, you are not giving yourself a fighting chance. So if you are going to dedicate yourself or make one change to this, the biggest thing is just being consistent. So whether it's consistently good, consistently bad, yes, I'm saying that, but just start with something, okay?